You Can't Save Everybody from their album of the same name. They're here at the moment. They're playing this weekend at the Blue Mountains Festival on Monday. You can find them at the Basement in Sydney, Monday and Tuesday, I should say, at the Basement in Sydney. They're turning up at the Corner Hotel in Richmond on Thursday, and then at the Frankston Guitar Festival on Friday, and then they go on to Geelong and Woodend. That's Kieran Kane and Kevin Welch. You're listening to The Music Show on ABC Radio National, and it's time to meet the gentlemen of Rebetiki. They're in our Melbourne studio, and before we chat, they're going to play for us. That was Rebetiki playing live on today's music show. Thank you very much indeed for that. Achilles Yanhuli, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Well, the who is replaced by a goo, and you'll be right.
Okay, I didn't think there was a hard G in Greek.
Put a Yanguli and you'll be cool.
Okay, well, Achilles Yanhuli, could you tell us what that was that we just heard?
That piece, the lyrics were written by Rasoulis, Manolis Rasoulis, and the music, if I'm correct, it was written by Nikos Papazoglou. Two prominent, I guess, not innovators, but kind of artists who reinvented or resurfaced the Rebetic style, kind of a neo-Rebetic style of music in the early 70s and late 60s. And we're, of course, performing a concert of Rasoulis' lyrics and music on Sunday the 21st, and that was one of the pieces we'll be playing.
Rasoulis is not, I suppose, such a familiar name as figures like Mikis Theodorakis or Maria Farandouri, who belong to the same sort of political movement.
Mm.
Could you tell us a little bit about Manolis Rasoulis?
Well, he's kind of he's a kind of a discriminant character, really. He's kind of out and about, a real social, not a social butterfly, but he really likes to pick at the issues that surround Greeks, their politics, their art, and he's and for that reason alone, his lyrics are often can be controversial, but with a twisted meaning. It never comes out and just says it. He likes to use metaphors quite heavily in his music, and so he's very in that way he's very innovative, I guess.
Well, he may not come quite out and say it, but some of his pronouncements have got him into trouble, nevertheless.
That's correct. Yes.
Well, he purports to being an anarchist, so he doesn't really. He's very, very subversive, and he doesn't like to show himself too much. But when he does, he always causes a stir. So I think Achilles is quite right with that one. He's
still in exile in Spain?
No, I think he's in Greece now.
He's gone back to Greece.
Yeah, he's in Greece. He's not playing too much, but he's performing a lot of his stuff by himself now. In the past, he used to give it off to other artists, but now he's just he's gone back to his roots, I think, and he's just got a little band together, and he's doing as well as he can, and he's really doing well, if I can mention that. But he's very well loved. I think everyone has actually done one of his songs or performed some of his lyrics. And people that haven't done them would like to do them at some stage. So he's a very popular man amongst musicians, at least.
Achilles, you said that he was neo-Rembetika. Perhaps you could, well, before we get on to neo, perhaps you could remind us what Rembetika is.
Well, Rebetika, I guess from the knowledge that I know, is a music that evolved from the migrants of the west coast of Turkey just after 1921, and perhaps a little bit before that. These were displaced peoples who were basically camped, outside of Athens, at a place called, I think it was Piraeus. And of course they brought with them the traditions of the musical and artistic traditions of the west coast there and of Turkey, and that's where it stemmed from initially. Of course, it developed into something else, and it actually developed into the popular music that we hear in Greece. Well, today, unfortunately.
What are the characteristics of it?
The characteristics of it are generally very akin to Negro blues, especially like Delta blues or that particular style, where they talk about their suffering and the hardships of life, and a woman or a man who's torn the other's heart out, and
and Negro blues à la grecque.
À la grecque, yes.
And what about the musical characteristics?
Okay, the musical characteristics. We're getting to that, Andrew.
That's all right. Okay.
Well, characteristically, it's I guess if I think about it, when the melodies that I sing, for example, generally I think come from a Byzantine source. They have the characteristic melismas in the vocal lines, and generally mournful and quite passionate, if you like. In terms of instruments, I mean, we've got a whole variety of things. Of course, you've got the Greek instrument known as the guitar, and you've got the bouzouki, of course, which is the 6-string variety. Today's bouzouki's are 8-string, and they were developed in the 50s, but earlier on they were 60s and 6 strings rather, and modal rather than diatonic. So, chord shapes were not often too popular on the 6-string. I mean, you can do them, of course, but the 8-string facilitated the chord shapes and arpeggios and that sort of thing, which is stylistically Greek at the moment or at present. But with the Rebetiko bouzouki, you've got a much more modal sound. Then there are other instruments like the baglama, which is a little tiny bouzouki, half size. I don't know if we've got it with us in the studio today. Have we got it? Yeah. Well, anyway, we might play a little bit of it later, perhaps. But that's the same sort of thing, 6 strings, and it's made half size because the authorities at the time banned the bouzouki soon after the around 1930 or 1940s, and so the
just a Greek innovation.
The Greek innovation, yes. unlike the dishwashers. Anyway, and
So it was made half size because it was easier to conceal.
That's right. Yes, that's exactly right.
What happened is a lot of the musicians back in those days, in the 20s and 30s especially, would play in hash dens, and
that's right.
so the police would raid them and bust their bouzouki's over their heads, and they thought we need to find some other solution to this, so they made a half size, and when the police did raid, they could just slip it under their jackets and walk out quietly.
I love the idea that they might raid a hash den because somebody's playing a bouzouki.
Fancy that, eh?
Now, you mentioned neo-Rebetiko.
Yeah.
So what is that?
Well, maybe Archie could explain a little bit more about that. He's a bit more...
I think it's just a continuation of the tradition that evolved in the 20s and 30s. I mean, I think most of Greek music is based on that tradition today. And there's been a turn lately, ever since 1985, when there was this revival of the old style of Rebetiko. So what we find today is that the Rebetiko has been has evolved again in the latter part of the 20th century, and it's had all these different influences from abroad. I mean, there's been a lot of other music that's come into Greece. And the style that has evolved has been an amalgamation of this old tradition with new modes that have come in from abroad, and just with new ideas, I think. And it's people have returned to this basic Byzantine way of music that most of Greek music is based on, but with a mix of foreign elements and different ideas, different lyrics. I suppose it's just a reflection of the times, really.
No, is Faliro neo-Rebetiko?
No, it's not neo-Rebetiko. We shouldn't have spoken about neo-Rebetiko so much, should we?
I was hoping we were going to lead kind of naturally into a demonstration of what you just...
That's a very good point. But what we can showcase with this is that although neo-Rebetiko did have a lot of things, a lot of influences, they also had them back in the 50s and 60s. When this song, I think, was written. Actually, it's the closest thing we know to a Beatles tune, and you'll figure out why as soon as we play
okay.
it.
And the words are by Rasoulis again.
No, this time they're not, actually. They're by one of Rasoulis' most revered composers of the 50s and 60s, a guy called Apostolos Hatzichristos. So we thought we'd throw this one in just with a bit
throw
of
it in
extra spice.
Before you throw it in, Archie, perhaps you'd like to just tell us who's in the band this morning.
Right, well, we have Tony Iliou on guitar, who also plays the lute with us whenever he brings it along. There is Takis Dimitriou on the bouzouki, Achilleas Yangoulis. I remembered to throw in the goo. And there's myself on the... Achilleas plays the bouzouki, and myself on the baglama and the drum for today.
And the uti.
And the ud before, yes.
Yes, he would.
Okay, well, let's hear the song.
Πάμε στα δυο στη ζούλα για ρομάντσα και φιλιά. Με μια μικρή βαρκούλα πάμε στα δυο στη ζούλα για ρομάντσα και φιλιά. Να πάμε αλλού περήφανα, μικρό μου ραντεβού περήφανα. Πάμε για το καβούρι, πας και πάει γούρι και βρεθούμε αγκαλιά. Πάμε για το καβούρι, πας και πάει γούρι και βρεθούμε αγκαλιά. περήφανα και πριν ο ήλιος βγει περήφανα. Με το μικρό βαρκάκι γραμμή για το νησάκι κι ούτε γάτα ούτε ζημιά. Με το μικρό βαρκάκι γραμμή για το νησάκι κι ούτε γάτα ούτε ζημιά.
Rebetiki playing live on today's music show. Thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, for that. You can hear Rebetiki at the Brunswick Music Festival on Sunday week. The music in the background is by Roger Smalley. And Roger Smalley's new quintet for piano and strings is currently being performed around the country at the moment by himself and the Australian String Quartet there tonight in Melbourne, Monday night in Sydney.